Well, hello everybody. I'm not gonna lie, it's 20 after 6 and I'm just a little bit tired, but it's my son's birthday tomorrow, as I was saying, and I have to get this cake made. So I've made the ganache. I found this really cool recipe. I really love the flavors of salty and sweet. I think they're great together, you know, like chocolate and a bag of chips. So anyway, I made a ganache that has a lot of chocolate in it, a lot of cream, salt, butter, like everything that is just like super bad for you. Anyway, so it's still quite hot and it's supposed to thicken up. So this is my hope that this in fact is, as it cools, is gonna thicken, because this is the ganache that I'm gonna put between my layers. Now, I guess the next thing that I'm supposed to do now, I'm gonna wait for that to cool because I think that's gonna take a really long time. Here's the cakes. This is what I got up early this morning to redo. Now these have to come out of the packages, and now I'm supposed to trim off the tops of them because they all kind of grew a little tummy, and I gotta cut these off. So they advise you to put them in the fridge and let them cool, which is exactly what I've done. But I'm supposed to take this dome off, and then they're nice and flat. So when you stack them, they will be even. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do. Never done anything like this before. So this hopefully is as easy as these folks make it look, because yeah, and then they will have to kind of be the same height, because you want your cake to be level. So they tell you take a bread knife and then you go like this, and then you turn it and you turn it, and you kind of let the, actually it's coming off pretty easily. I guess this would be a great way to also to taste it, right? See if it tastes any good. So that's also good. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take all 3 cakes, I'm gonna trim them, and because this is not a tutorial on how to bake, this is about me almost being 61, needing to find something that I'll find rewarding to do, and deciding that I was gonna learn how to bake cakes. And this is the first chocolate cake that I've ever made in my life. I'm telling you, you know the saying, go big or go home? Well, that's kind of what I've done with this. It could be a huge mistake. Maybe it tastes horrible. Hopefully it doesn't. And if it does taste horrible, I hope it looks good. Like one or the other. Both will be even better. So anyway, I'm going to do the same thing with all of them. In the meantime, I'm hoping that this ganache, which smells absolutely divine. I've never ever melted sugar before. Actually, this is really hot, but I've never melted sugar before in my life. But it is, you gotta try. Even if you're not gonna cook, stick some sugar on the stove and give it a boil and watch it melt. I mean, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Well, not the most incredible, but it's pretty incredible. And then adding butter and cream and all these really naughty ingredients. Just love it. I mean, my house tasted like a toffee shop. It doesn't get better than that. I already feel better. I already feel younger. Actually, I feel like a kid, because this is like making candy, isn't it? Anyway, I will see you soon. Okie doke. Well, I'll start off with the good news. The good news is I have one slice completely topped off, level, on my gorgeous, I mean, the stand just reeks of you should know how to do this, right? Because the stand, look at how it turns. It's just amazing. It makes me feel like a professional. It really, truly does. And here we have the second side waiting to go on. I think I could use a level, actually, because I know it's not level, but it's gonna have to do. Now here's the pieces that came off, so I got to try the cake. I can honestly, truly tell you, the cake is delicious. However, this cake here has cracked. think you can see that there. You can see how my cake has cracked. So I know it's my first ever chocolate cake. I know this is a super ambitious cake, but now I've got to figure out what I'm gonna do. The ganache is gonna take a while to cool off, I think. So it's gonna take me a while before that's even ready, before I can start what they call stacking the cake. Now I don't know whether I'm gonna be able to stack the whole thing because, as I said, I've got this nice crater going through this part of my cake. But we've got one out of the two things for sure. The cake tastes really, really good. So this is a great recipe. I don't know anything about baking, to be honest. I know a little bit about making, like I said, cheesecakes and stuff like that. But I added sour cream to this, which gives it a really nice dense feel. And not sure why this broke, but it did. And I'm just gonna keep plugging away because this cake has to be ready before I go to bed tonight. And you know, when you get to be my age, this is the time of night where you should be sitting down, watching the sunset, just chilling and relaxing, but I can't because I gotta fix this cake. So let's hope it works out. And I hope that you stay to the end to see how this turns out, because I am in real time here. I have no idea how I'm gonna fix this. I have no experience at all with how to fix a cake. So actually I don't have a lot of experience with fixing many things, really. So this is gonna be very interesting. Okay, so you could probably tell by the lighting that it's a little darker now. It's a whole lot later. And wow, I had no idea that, okay, let me backtrack a bit. I made the toffee caramel like I told you. It's taken forever to cool. In fact, I had to put it in the freezer, which meant taking all my groceries out of the freezer to put it in the freezer, because that's how I had to make room for that. And then I made the buttercream, and I started out with my mixer thinking, wow, I'll get to use my mixer, and the paddle doesn't swipe around the edges, so I had to take it out of the mixer, put it in a bowl, and then clean off my hand mixer that I haven't used for, oh my goodness, years, and do it by hand. So now I'm caught up. Here's the first one. Gotta tell you, if anything, I love the way this thing spins. Oh my gosh. It makes me feel professional, even though I have never done this before. But what I'm gonna do, because this, the toffee, which I should have put over here, the toffee is still quite runny. So I think it would probably slip out the side of the cake. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a little wall around the edges. So this buttercream is very, very thick. So I had to figure out how do I change the consistency so I could make it easy to get out of this stupid piping bag. And I think this is how it's gonna work. Ooh, this, look at that, it's working. Did I put enough in there to get this stuff all out? I did not. There you go. That's what happens when you don't know what you're doing. I wonder if I could cheat and just take some out of the bowl and fill this gap. Because you know what? It's getting so late now. Thankfully, I'm not a perfectionist, because if I was, I probably would have quit a long time ago with this, because I take my hats off to those girls who can make, and men who can make cakes the way they do, because this has turned out to be quite difficult. And you know how many gray hairs I have? I know I have more. I know I have more. Okay, what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to put some of my wonderful toffee. Oh gosh, I wish I could share this with you. It tastes so good. I'm gonna put toffee in this, and then I'm gonna go whoop, and I'm gonna pour it in here because that's the only way not to make a mess. Now, how do I know how to do this stuff? Well, I do cook. I use an ice cream scooper for making meatballs and, you know, little finicky things that you gotta have the right size of. So, you know, here we go. I'm filling the well. You know, I gotta tell you, this looks really pretty. Now, where the dam here is a little weaker, I can see some is gonna wanna run out. So I'm gonna put a bit more buttercream there, because seriously, I just wanna keep this in here. Okay, listen to that, folks. They are playing the theme from The Love Boat. Oh my gosh. How old was I when they used to, when the Love Boat was on? I was just a kid, right? I watched that show recently, and oh my goodness, I'm telling you, those people were really naughty. They did some really bad things on that ship. I used to watch that when I was a kid. I don't even know how many years ago that was, because that was, gosh, that was a long time ago. The Love Boat, huh? Okay, so I've got the first one on. I'm not sure, I think I need to put that in the freezer and let that, I'm scared to put the other layer on this. I gotta give this a good think, because remember, the second layer, I made a decision to put the second layer on now and then put the third layer on top of this one. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I'm hoping the first and the third layer will at least give me a sense of straightness, whereas if I put this on the top, I'm always going to have a curve whenever it comes around. So that's what I'm thinking. I've had a time to think about how to handle this. So let's see what I come up with, okay? Okie doke, so here we are. I have all three layers on. I want you to see the gaping hole there that the one of them just fell apart. So I think I made the right, I don't know, because this will be absolutely, you're witnessing the very first time I've ever attempted to what they call crumb coat a cake, which means, I guess, a thin layer to cover all this, and you set it, then you put your main layer. Now I can certainly see that because this is kind of crummy and crummy. So anyway, I'm going to give this a go and hopefully it'll work. Okay, so you get to witness my first time ever icing a cake or putting a crumb coat on a cake. I really don't know what is the better way to do this. Oh, so I should tell you, I ended up running out of the buttercream that I built my wall with, but I had double the amount of the caramel toffee. And I could not imagine throwing away all that toffee. So what I did was, this stuff is really hard, people. It's really hard to put on. So what I did was, because it was still quite runny even after being in the freezer, so what I did was I added some icing sugar to it and some more chocolate, and lo and behold, I still got to figure out what works best for me here, because I have no idea what will actually work best for me here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around here. You know what this is teaching me? Is when you're learning how to do something that you've never done before, get ready to make lots of mistakes. That's what this is teaching me, is a person's gonna make a lot of mistakes, and I think sometimes, at least for myself, I find it really hard to be patient with myself. Or I'm trying to learn something, make my son a birthday cake. Thank goodness his birthday only comes once a year. Because, oh my goodness. Anyway, so here I am. I'm just smearing this on because I'm doing the first layer. And then I'm going to start with the next layer, and I'm going to go up and hopefully have a decent crumb coat going on here. So I actually like this smaller spatula better, which isn't the one that I ordered. This is a spatula that I've had in my drawer like forever. And well, thankfully it was there, right? So as you can see, this turntable is amazing. If this cake is really bad, it's definitely not the turntable's fault. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna finish doing this whole thing. I'm gonna give it a think. What I'm gonna do about this part here that has this big crater in it. And then, I don't know, maybe I might show you me trying to do a nice smooth coat, or maybe I'll just show you the finished product because it's getting super late for me. So anyway, before I go, I looked up The Love Boat. Seriously, that series started, the first episode was in 1977. I was 16 years old then. That was 45 years ago. I'm going, wow, like, where did that time go? Like, time goes by so fast, doesn't it, folks? Like, wow, 45 years, and here we are, and I'm gonna be 61, and I've decided that I should learn how to bake a cake. How ridiculous is that? Because you know what? I could have run down to the store, and I could have probably bought a cake for like a fraction of what it's cost me to make this cake, without question. This cake is turning out to be okay. That's why they call it the crumb coat, because look at all those crumbs. I better not run this over the other part of the cake, girl, so I think I'll be in big trouble. Anyway, I'll see you a little bit later, okay? When I'm a little bit further ahead in doing the cake, okay? So if you're still with me, thank you so much. It's the next day. Not gonna lie, stayed up all night. Well, stayed up quite late. I'm really quite tired today. Stayed up very late last night getting this cake finished. I did manage to get it finished. Boy, I'm really tired today. We did go to church today because it is Easter, and that's our tradition to go to church and celebrate Easter Sunday. So here we are now, and now this afternoon it is Hayden's birthday. My husband's gone to pick him up, and we are going to be celebrating his birthday this afternoon. And it's a gorgeous day. Here in Gibraltar it is 26 degrees Celsius right now, so it's very, very hot out there. So I'm kind of glad I'm inside right now. Anyway, this cake, well, as you know, one of the parts, it crumbled, it broke off. I had to figure out a way to fix it. I really got thinking, you know, that's kind of like life. You start out thinking this is the way things should turn out, you know, this is the plan that I have in mind, and then something happens. And how many times has something happened to each and every one of us? We can all relate to that. And then we have to figure out a way. We have options, right? We always have options. We could just choose to give up, which I didn't consider to do last night, simply because it was my son's birthday and that motivated me. So I'm not too sure if I perhaps wouldn't have quit, but I didn't. But quitting could be an option. Or trying something different, like having to deal with the fact that the cake crumbled, and I have never made a chocolate cake before, so I want to go easy on myself. But the finished product, I think you're gonna like it. At the end of the day, even with the struggle, having to remake the cake, even with, and you didn't see the stuff because I'm not here to teach you how to bake. I have never baked a chocolate cake before. What I'm here to talk about is life, about as we get older. And I find it's difficult, being stuck in your ways, and I'm kind of stuck in my ways. I like things done a certain way, but I'm finding I just have to learn how to just kind of go with the flow a little bit more. And I think some people maybe are better at that than others. I know I'm not. It's hard for me to just go with the flow. Okay, so I had to go with the flow. The cake broke. I had to figure out how I was going to fix that. And I'd never made buttercream before, so I didn't even make enough buttercream when I was fixing things up. So I didn't have what I needed for the buttercream, but I had twice the amount. I had way too much chocolate caramel salted stuff that I put in the middle. I believe that's a ganache, right? That I put in the middle. So I had a huge amount of that left. So what do I do with that? So I decided to try I did a little experiment, added a little bit of icing sugar to it, and it whipped up really nicely. So I ended up coating this cake with the ganache, but I had added icing sugar. So I've even had to learn how to be a little creative because I'm in a pinch and I'm already super invested in this cake and I have to figure something out. So I ended up using the the caramel chocolate salted chocolate thingy that I put in the middle, that really runny stuff. I put that, I made it a little bit stiffer, put it on the outside. I have to say I'm grateful for all the tutorials I watched that kind of gave me the idea maybe icing would work for this, and it did, and I tasted it. It was really too sweet, so I added some dark chocolate in it to cut down the sweetness. And so I guess when stuff goes wrong, we have to figure out how to be creative. There's always solutions, and in this case, thankfully, there was a solution, and the cake has turned out brilliantly. I am so proud of it. So I'm going to show it to you now. I'm going to drag it into the screen and I'm going to show you. Here's the cake. Here is Hayden's cake. Now this part here, if I pull it this way, you can see where it broke. So I decided, well, I'd seen a cake that had this effect, so I thought, well, let's cut the whole thing out. I can't fix it. And as far as my scraping, I have no skills. This is the first time I've ever done that. You know what? I'm fairly happy with it. I think it turned out well. Then because of the broken cake, I had a lot of I had a lot of cake left over, so I thought, what do? I didn't really want to throw it away. So I made an edge down here. Didn't really need to, but thought, what the heck, make an edge. And I think this cake is amazing. So maybe even with all the challenges of trying to fix the cake, having to figure out how to make the icing, this is really hard. It turned out okay, and maybe that's how I'm gonna have to figure out to do my life. Things might not turn out or have turned out the way I thought they should have. And if you're already 60 years old or going to be 61 like I'm going to be next week, you know there are many things that we have thought that they should go a certain way, and they didn't. They went a completely different way, and sometimes that's really hard. But learning how to adapt is not easy. I have found it difficult, to be honest. But in the case of the cake, I did adapt and it worked well. And so I'd like you to leave some comments in the comment section. Of course, you could say some nice things about the cake, but you could also, more importantly, maybe share some things that you've had to do to adapt as you getting older, the situation that happened that you had to adapt and it worked out really well in the end. In fact, it worked out so well that you could not even have to admit that there had been a mistake in the first place. So anyway, I just want to wish you a great day. Have a wonderful Easter Sunday. And I really hope that you subscribe to my channel, that you press the like button that's underneath, and that you would leave a comment, and that perhaps we could become friends and walk this journey of getting older together. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.